I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
The Philadelphia 76ers have been probably the most disappointing team so far this season, without question. Many thought this team would run the East with Milwaukee, but as of right now, are nowhere close to that level. Again, many thought they were locks for the conference finals, but now many are skeptical about their second round chances. So what's gone wrong with this team? How have they done so bad, and what can they do to fix it? I'll be going over that in today's video. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content. But with that being said, let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers.
Lucas.
The Philadelphia 76ers are currently the 6th seed in the East. Yes, you heard that right, the 6th seed, and they have a record of 23-14. With that said, it looks bad, but with context, they are only a game behind 4th, so they still have a good shot at getting home court advantage. Unfortunately, with their recent streak of losses, the 76ers are now 4 games short of the 2nd seed Celtics and 8 games short of Milwaukee, so they really need to turn things around if they wish to be legit contenders and have a real shot at the Larry O'Brien Trophy. This means they need to stop losing to teams they shouldn't, as Philly has done that quite a lot this season. They've lost to teams like Orlando twice, Brooklyn, Washington, and more, and quite honestly, should have taken home the dub in these games. However, the 76ers seem to play well against higher competition like the Bucks, and even though they lost, put up a great fight versus Miami. This looks really strange, and the reason why it's happening is because the 76ers either play up or down to their competition. For example, when they played against the Heat, they were competitive, playing up to their competition, but they also regularly do the opposite and play down to their competition, which is why they commonly lose to teams under 500 like the Orlando Magic. This is not the only reason why they are struggling though, and some of the blame needs to go on the players. So what players have been disappointing so far for the Sixers this season? Let's talk about Ben Simmons first. I'll admit, even as a big Simmons fan, he hasn't had the best of starts. After he was hyped up to leap into superstardom this season, he regressed stats-wise, and his shooting, or lack thereof, is still a big issue. The stats going down isn't really his fault due to guys like Al Horford and Josh Richardson joining the team, so he's losing a couple of shots and his usage has gone down a bit. But the lack of shooting has been causing problems again for this team. With that said though, he is not the biggest problem on this team, and the idea of trading him is absolutely ridiculous if I'm being honest. Ben Simmons is not the problem on this team. We saw it versus Houston when he dropped a triple-double with 29 points and dominated defensively, like he has all year with 3 steals and 4 blocks. So, who or what is the issue? I'll explain all that in a second, but first, we need to talk about a couple more players. Joel Embiid has been a bit disappointing this year, as overall, he hasn't been as consistent and dominant as we expected. Don't get me wrong here, he's had some phenomenal, extremely dominant games, but he's also had too many mediocre 20-point games where you feel like he could have just done a lot more. This season, he's averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds, both regressions in these stats. Joel Embiid looked like a future MVP, a class above all other big men last season. But right now, he's dropped from that elite level back down, and the discussion of best big men in the NBA has started up again. Because, unfortunately, Embiid has been a slight letdown this season, performance-wise. At the same time though, he isn't Philly's biggest problem whatsoever, so whilst he has been disappointing at times, we really shouldn't worry about him too much. It's just something that I've noticed. The next player I want to talk about is Al Horford. Horford hasn't had the impact like we expected him to, and has openly admitted to the media about how frustrated he is with his role on offense. Horford hasn't shot well this season, and in general, doesn't fit in well with the starting lineup, particularly Embiid. However, when Horford plays when Embiid is off, he's been extremely productive, so I think there is a fix to his poor play, but I'll go more in depth on this in a bit. The final player I want to talk about is Tobias Harris. Harris's shooting has been down, and just like Horford, his efficiency has dropped a lot. It's not really his fault though, as the poor spacing with this team has made it hard for him to create shots. Nevertheless, he has still taken ill-advised shots pretty regularly during games, so that does need to stop, but I'm not too surprised at Harris's regression in efficiency, and for the most part, I don't think it's his fault. So those are the main reasons why I think the 76ers are struggling. That's what's going wrong. Those players struggling and with them playing down to their competition when they should be dominating are the issues that stick out the most to me. So, how do they fix it? I have a couple of ideas. The first would be to trade Al Horford and or Tobias Harris. Horford has been seemingly very disgruntled so far in Philly, doing a lot of complaining, and as of recent, came out and said he doesn't like his role in the offense, so he might be requesting a trade, or the 76ers may just trade him anyway, as he isn't really helping them too much, particularly with spacing. So, what are some trade ideas for the 76ers? I have one, and it involves Al Horford. The trade is Al Horford and Zaire Smith and a first rounder to the Blazers for CJ McCollum. This is a great deal for Philly, as CJ adds spacing for Philly and extra scoring power. He's not a terrible defender either, and again, the biggest part of acquiring CJ is shooting and ability to space the floor. Philadelphia really needs that right now. To me, replacing Horford with CJ makes the 76ers lineup look a lot more formidable and personally a lot better in general, so this deal should be a no-brainer if they can pull it off. In the situation that the 76ers cannot find a trade that works for them with Horford, I suggest they move him to the bench in a 6-man role. Horford is a much more efficient player when he plays without Embiid, as I mentioned earlier. He shoots 36% from the field with Embiid on the floor with him, and 47% without him. That's a massive difference, and it doesn't stop there. From 3, he shoots 24% with Embiid and 36% without him. Another major gap. So, with the proof right there, if the 76ers fail to make any trades this deadline, I believe it would be smart to move Horford to the bench and put him in a 6-man role. His minutes shouldn't decrease or anything, but I think overall it would be best for the team and for him personally to be playing away from Embiid at the very least. So those are my 2 ideas as to what the 76ers could try to do this season to fix their issues. However, this may be more than a player thing and may come down to the coaching staff. Obviously, firing Brett Brown this season is completely out of the picture, but I don't think it's that unlikely at all he gets fired this offseason. Same with the front office, something needs to change there. They are simply valuing names over fit and what works best for the team, and it's costing them a lot right now. In conclusion, this is what's wrong with the Philadelphia 76ers. Their players are underperforming, and this is due to their playstyles clashing and the lack of space and shooting the team has, particularly when all 5 starters play on the court together, which is not what you want at all. To fix this issue, I think the 76ers need to let either Al Horford or Tobias Harris go, and Al Horford is the most likely one to be traded to me, as the trade I suggested makes a lot of sense for both sides. I find it very realistic too, and Horford has openly complained about his role on the team and in the offense, so I don't think he'd feel too betrayed if he was let go of. However, if the 76ers cannot come to terms with any team for a suitable trade, the next best thing would be to move Horford to the bench to allow more spacing to the first unit, and then Horford plays with the second unit. This is good, as Horford is a statistically more efficient player when he does not play with Embiid. Overall, the 76ers have been disappointing this season, and something needs to change. If nothing does, this team's hopes of winning a title in the next few years will become slimmer and slimmer, and potentially may never come to fruition. I guess now we'll just have to wait and see what happens and see if the front office of Philadelphia can make the right moves this February to get the 76ers back into title contention. But that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? What should the Philadelphia 76ers do to get back into contention? Are they fine in your opinion, or does a trade need to happen? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.